Who are the biggest ADP risers and fallers over the past month? Find out next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. As always, make sure to follow and stream us on Spotify. Today is Monday, March 7th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White, and we are using NFBC ADP over the past month from February 1st, basically through March 6th. And the top risers inside the top 100, Pete Alonso has moved from pick 55 to pick 48 and closing the gap on Matt Olson. Scott, who would you rather have? I mean, now it's like a legit conversation, Matt Olson versus Pete Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're almost interchangeable to me, so I don't like the idea of having to pick. If I did have to pick, I would take Olson. He was the better of the two last year. Certainly, if you're talking about something like a points league where this ADP doesn't necessarily apply, but Olson walked more. He walks more than Alonso does, so I take him in that format. I mean, more than anything, what this tells me is you shouldn't necessarily, if you want a lot of power at first base, you shouldn't necessarily pass over Matt Olson because you can't necessarily trust Pete Alonso to be there a round or two later like you could earlier on. Of course, there's no telling how your specific draft plays out. I think a lot of the expert drafts I've been doing, I still tend to see Pete Alonso out there in round 5. But yeah, the ADP is what it is, and it says that that once Olson goes, Alonso's going right after.
Will Smith, the catcher for the Dodgers, is also moved up about a half a round from pick 60 to 54, going just ahead of names like Wander Franco, Javier Baez, and George Springer, an outfielder that a lot of us are excited about this season. The third catcher off the board, Scott, do you agree with this about half-round move up for Will Smith?
I mean, it just means I'm even less likely to draft Will Smith. I feel like there's this people have this idea that, okay, well, I don't want to take Salvador Perez in the round 3-4 range because I could just take Will Smith a couple rounds later and it'll be the same thing. I suppose theoretically there's a chance Will Smith catches up to Salvador Perez in production, but it would take a lot going right. Chief among them, he would have to play a lot of DH for the Dodgers, and I don't have any reason to believe that's actually going to happen. And Salvador Perez is as distant a number one as any player at any position. And so I need Will Smith to go more than just a couple rounds after him for me to make that investment at a position where I generally don't like to invest a lot.
The last one that's moving up inside the top 100, Jonathan India from pick 92 to 86. He's going ahead of names like Tommy Edman, JD Martinez, Alex Bregman over the past month or so. And Scott, I wonder if people are starting to realize that a lot of those second base eligible players also have shortstop eligibility. So the position kind of dries up quicker than you would think. What do you think about this move of Jonathan India moving up about half a round?
Looking like a 15-team league, I think that's probably true. And sure, in a 12-team league, if you fall asleep at the position, yeah, you could potentially end up with somebody shaky there. I find that it's not that hard to get a quality second baseman. Like the Altuve, Ketel Marte, Brandon Lau class, like they all tend to go later than I think they should. So it's very easy for me to capitalize on that. But maybe people who don't, those guys go and they're kind of panicking and like, oh, I need a second baseman, Jonathan India, I want to take him ahead of JD Martinez. And the Alex Bregman one is especially curious to me because however shallow you want to say second base is, third base is much more so.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at the biggest fallers, Scott, and I'll just lump these two together here. They're both starting pitchers. Luis Castillo has dropped 9 spots from pick 87 to 96, and then Logan Webb, who is going about 2 rounds earlier, has dropped from pick 62 to 71. So what do you think about Luis Castillo and Logan Webb falling inside of the top 100 picks?
Yeah, I think it was necessary for Logan Webb. I mean, I like Logan Webb a lot. I think it's legit what he did last year, but he was going ahead of some guys that you have basically no doubts about, And even still, he's going ahead of Lance Lynn, Kevin Gausman, Max Fried. I'd still take him behind all 3 of those guys. It's getting close, though, to the range where I think it's acceptable to take Logan Webb. Luis Castillo, I mean, I don't exactly know why he's dropping. Maybe people are recognizing, like I have, that there probably isn't an ace ceiling. We're kind of holding out hope for that in the past, and maybe there was some carryover effect early on. He's the whip's going to be on the high side. The strikeout rate, you don't know exactly what you're getting. The ERA should be solid because he's such a good ground ball pitcher, but he's going behind like Frankie Montas and Trevor Rogers now, ahead of Charlie Morton. That's kind of all mixed up to me. I'd rank them Charlie Morton, Frankie Montas, Luis Castillo, and then Trevor Rogers. So, I guess he's sort of in the right range. Closer to where I'd draft him than he was previously.
All right. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, your smart speakers, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.